All right, welcome everybody to our latest Live Motocross podcast as we talk all things RedBud Pro Motocross with the great man Jeff Beaver from Whiskey Throttle Media. Obviously, firstly, thank you to everyone for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. We'd also like to thank our sponsors in Fly Racing, Firepower, Dirt Store, and Fuchs Silkaline for all their incredible support, as without them, none of this be possible. All right, for this one, obviously, I'm joined again by the great man Jeff Beaver, Whiskey Throttle, editor at large, straight from RedBud. So, how's life? And thanks for joining, mate. Busy pumping out the content.
It was good, dude. Little warm, not bad. Hangtown was way worse. Still the hottest national of the year. Uh, Track, never been to RedBud before. Badass facility. Really hard to shoot though. It's like having three tracks. You got the start straight and the first what is that? First, second, and third turn are all up top before you step down into the valley. And so that's like one section of the track. Plus, on the left side when you come over the finish line, it's like a huge swath to come down that straightaway, take the left, and go all the way back across the start to turn one. So that's like one whole section of the track, and then you got that whole area down valley, and then when you get past the Talladega area and go up over the step up by the big flag, and then you get into the area where LaRocco's Leap is, and then the big table and the rollers. So it's like trying to shoot three tracks at once. It was pretty brutal to get it all done. To be honest with you, I mean, but I like the place, and those fans were out of their freaking mind, dude. My ears literally hurt Saturday night when I was laying in bed.
Oh, mate, they were wild. I was going to ask you about how was the atmosphere? Was it a usual sort of Red Bud going wild, lot B, all happening? Obviously, you did those pretty sweet press day interviews with the Lawrence brothers and Joe Shimoda. Obviously, Shimoda got a bit of lot B motivation, mate, because he come out and crushed it. But
I don't know what he
such a great event.
I don't know what he did Friday night, man. If he went to Lot B, if he saw some good old American titties or what, dude. But that some bitch was inspired.
Oh, mate, he was rolling. Well, awesome kits too, eh? The lit kits were out in force for Red Bud. They really get behind it. The bike plastics, the jerseys, helmets. It's all pretty sweet, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it was pretty good. I saw Joe in the morning on the walk-in interview. I was, oh, look at Joe looking fresh after a night in Lot B, and he was laughing. Then he came out and just went 1-1. So it was pretty cool. It was dope. It had to feel good because all the big bosses from Japan were over too. So Honda definitely delivered 1-2 in the 450 class and 1-1 in the 250 class. I mean, they couldn't have done any better to have the big boss man over.
Oh, mate, awesome for them. Obviously, they sponsored that round as well, so it was pretty much a perfect storm for them. And your thoughts on the podium noise as well, because headed in, you wouldn't have thought there'd be no Degan, Tomac, Plessinger, or Sexton on the podium at RedBud. So the fans didn't seem to mind, though. They love the Aussies, they love Joe. Kitchen gets a good round of applause. Swole was given it some too, wasn't he, mate? Great performance. So, how's the podium noise? The interviewers were struggling to get a word in, mate.
Yeah, I mean it was I was surprised how loud they were for Jalik, but they loved him and they went nuts when Joe went out there. I jokingly told Honda's PR girl Toddy, I said, "Hey, wait, by next summer Joe's going to come out here with a mullet. That fool's going to be a redneck." But yeah, it was pretty badass and the 450 class. Seeing RJ get his first, being there to watch RJ get his first podium on the 450 class, that was sick, dude. The fans were pumped, and Deegs did get that second place, and
Mm.
really, I think honestly, and people probably kick me in the shin on this in the comments, but I think he had the ride of the weekend. To be honest with you, if you look at that video when he crashed, he was moving over that jump when he crashed, and the bar hit the ground, and his quad muscle smacked right into that bar, and the bike, the angle I saw, the bike just like smashed his leg against the bars. Look, like I was on Blair's pod last night. I was telling him, look, he didn't snap his femur. And then when I was up on the finish line during the first moto, he jumped Lorocco's leap once, and I'm like, dude, you're out of your freaking mind. He only did it once, and I think probably landed and went, ah, goddamn, that hurt. But he came around one of the laps, and he was trying to get after it, get up there, and right as you come around past that big oak, when you come out of the rollers and you take that little dog leg to the left and then to the right, and then the finish line's there by that oak tree. there's a little area about 10 foot long that's got about 2 foot of rise where they've dug it out, and Hayden hit a kicker and it just shot him to the right, and he had no strength to hold onto the bike, and it just smashed the bike and his right foot into the hill. I'm like, oh shit, did he just break his foot, dude? But he just kept on trucking. I'm like, damn, dude, he got lucky on that one. And I talked to him when he came on the podium, like when he got off the bike after the second moto, he went and sat down like at the first chair available. He was just kind of sitting there, and I was talking to him for a minute. I'm like, dude, I ran that by him. He goes, dude, it sucked. He goes, I couldn't hold on to the bike, dude. And I was like, yeah, man, I was worried you broke your foot. And he goes, yeah, it was pretty brutal. And and I kind of told him, I go, you know, you should be proud of this though, dude. Not too many people would have come out and did what you did in the second moto to have that kind of, be in that kind of pain in the first moto and have that kind of result. A lot of people would be deflated, and that son of a bitch just manned up and got a second. Could you imagine if he would have won that moto, dude? That would have been just insane. He still ended up fifth overall with 38 points. So, love him or hate him, you gotta respect his hustle, dude. That was pretty badass.
Yeah, well said, mate. And obviously, there's been a little bit of back and forth between Jet and Degan in the last week or so. And there's a little bit of news saying that Degan might debut that 450 in the AusX Open, obviously in the Lawrence's backyard there in Australia, mate. So the beef's simmering away nicely. Do you reckon it's a dangerous game for Deegs, but he's never going to back down. He loves it. He loves the banter. Even Jet's sort of getting reeled into it, which is interesting because he usually just sort of shrugs it off. But it should be pretty cool to watch that one unfold.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be good, and I think that'd be badass if he went down there and debuted. And then the odds are that Jet's gonna win that race, but to go down there and say I'm not afraid to fight you, I mean, because that's what it is. It's a prize fight at this point. You know what I mean? And maybe it'd be good for Hayden to go down there and lose, and get a fire in his belly, and he's gonna catch all kinds of hate from the Aussies down there when he gets down there. But that's how Hayden is. Hayden's like, talk shit, piss me off. See how that works out for you. Piss me off, motivate me. So maybe that's some of that game that the Degans are just famous and excellent at playing, right? Hey, let's go down there and get the heat, get the smoke from the Aussies. Let's use it as fuel for the fire and then get some. So who knows? I know you guys down there are going to give him. Oh shit! I wouldn't want to be him. He's going to get the smoke, but uh, I think it just all it's going to do is fuel him. So good on him if he debuts it down there. I think it's smart.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to see him either there or at Paris doing it because obviously Cooper Webb gets down to Paris Supercross pretty often, won it last year if I remember correctly. So the Lawrence brothers will be at that too. So it'd be cool if he did either one of them or both Deeks to get his feet wetted with the rivalry and also on that 450, mate, because it's going to be no small task getting up there up to speed initially with those boys, is it? Even though he's got all the skills, the desire, the dedication, it'd probably be pretty hard instantly to be running with those elite guys, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, hell, I'd prefer he debuted at Paris Supercross because I'll be there, but
Yeah.
a little bit selfish, but yeah, it's most likely going to be him at Ozx for the debut. That would make sense if he does do it.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet to see how that pans out. Just before we get on to the racing, mate, was there much Team USA MXON talk? Obviously, Sexton's second moto was super impressive. Surely Deegan's a lock, and then Tomac as well. So it's kind of Sexton, Plessinger, or J Coop, isn't it, mate? Who are you leaning towards, and have you got any inklings to where they might go with that?
Well, to seeing what happens with AP with his sickness thing, if he can get that sorted out quick and get back to how he's been riding, I think you got to go with probably you know AP and Degan for sure, and then it's kind of a toss up between Sexton and Tomac. You know, probably with the edge towards Tomac. I don't
Yeah.
know, but if if Chase really gets after it, and it could easily be him too. I don't know. I mean, Tomac left a lot to be desired at RedBud. I didn't expect that. I thought he was going to go off. And yeah, I don't know. That sucked. I got a video I'm going to post later where his bike had just started smoking. He came over the table right before the rock was leaping, and it started just puffing out of the front of the cylinder, and I was like, uh-oh. And I was sitting with one of the filmers. I go, dude, Tomac's bike smoking. He goes, it is? I go, yeah, look. And he goes, oh, shit. And he didn't even make it around another lap.
Yeah, it's crazy. Those star bikes having issues this season. You've had Degan's issue, Tomac, Webb, Moseman at Southwick. Like they've had a lot of issues. Obviously, they're fine margins at that level and they're pushing everything to get the most out of it, which can result in reliability issues. But it's probably not the greatest look, is it, mate?
Yeah, that's not going to go over well. It's like a fart in church.
Well said, mate. And obviously, as we get to Jet Lawrence, mate, what was your take on watching his masterclass? Obviously, going 18th to first to secure the win in the second moto, winning the first one, sort of running out of positive praise for him. But yeah, it was good to see him pushed and he had to elevate to put on that charge, and he certainly did, mate. Obviously, Sexton was giving him a bit of a challenge, but that was Jet's 17th career 1-1 in the 450 class, passing James Stewart. He is now only two 1-1s away from Eli Tomac on 19 and Dungey, who's on 20. Ricky Carmichael has a record with 60. So that's for 1-1s from SMX Muse, that stat. So pretty impressive numbers, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Ricky was a freak, but it's unreal that he's doing it right away, and what has he won? He's got 19 out of 20, 19 wins out of 20 tries, and 17 of them are 1-1. I mean, it's just freaking retarded, dude. And I don't know. I was talking to his girlfriend. His girlfriend's really, really cool. God, I can't remember her name. The girl sings. She lives in Nashville. But I go, don't be surprised if one day you start seeing those memes like the Chuck Norris memes, like Chuck Norris tried losing once just to see what it felt like. She was laughing. I go, you're gonna start seeing shit like that. He's gonna end up being like the Chuck Norris of motocross, dude. You know. Chuck Norris doesn't get up, the Earth does, and the Earth moves down out of his way. It's gonna be the same thing for Jet.
Yeah.
But it's just mind-boggling that somebody is that elite. It's just blows my mind, dude. I just can't wrap my head around it. But
Yeah,
I'm there to
mate.
witness it up front, live, and as close as you can get. So it's pretty amazing time for me to have hopped into the sport and do what I'm doing, and I'm so grateful for it. And it's just I'm right there looking at it, and I don't get it. It's a trip.
Yeah, mate. It must be so cool every weekend being there. You going to Milville this weekend as well, mate? Should be another banger.
Yeah, I'm doing every round from here on out, except for probably not going to do Bud's Creek because we've got up in Big Bear, which is up in the mountains up above Los Angeles. Is the Big Bear GP the same week as Bud's Creek, and we've got Mike Metzger, Bo Manley, and Colin Scummy Morrison, riding on our team for the GP, along with Cody Moore and a couple other folks. And so we got a pretty rad team, and it's like kind of like, man, I think I'd rather stay home and film that one. And that's pretty wild.
Mm.
Opportunity. How many times are you going to get those guys together? And we got one more guy we're trying to work on. His initials are SP. I'll leave it at that. And he's an old schooler like Metzger and those guys. So I'll let you guys figure it out. Old school badass with SP as the initials that we're trying to get going out there. But if we get that, I mean, I'll never get an opportunity to shoot that again, and so I can probably send Ethan to Buds. I could miss going out to Washington D.C. for one weekend and stay in Southern California. I think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, mate. And how's Ping's recovery going? Was he planning to race that one if he was all good?
He won't. He won't be. He won't be able to race by then. I haven't even really talked to him this week, but yeah, he's out with his knee, and got to see what they say. Something about knee replacement or something like that, and a rectal exam. I don't know. He threw a rectal exam in there, so I don't know. Or maybe I called the doctor and told him to pull the stick out of it. I don't know. It's wild. Ping's man down, pimp in distress. So I don't know what's going to happen with it. It was going to be a while before we see Ping on a bike.
Yeah, just stick to the Code Red podcasts, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's gonna be sitting there recovering all drunk, and I'm gonna have to filter out this podcast, dude. And hold on, let me hear these things before we post them. Whoa, dude, I can't believe you said that. The hell were you on, son? But no, those Code Red podcasts are huge. I I went riding with GL and Johnny Louch on Wednesday before I came up here, and that was pretty funny hanging out with GL. And I'm like, dude, you're just one loose. I was fucking with him, telling a story. He's all, cool story, bro. I'm like, you fucking dick. He cool story, bro, to me.
Oh, he's a savage, eh? It's great value, those lads, aren't they? And obviously, moving on to Sexton, mate, what was your, predictions heading in and how did it turn out? It was pretty good in the grand scheme of things. Didn't start off too good, mate, but probably better than expected. That comeback Moto 1 didn't really seem near it, but excellent second moto. Deserves credit, even though he had that crash, but definitely some positives to take there. The speed was good. Bit of rust there, but it bodes well for the future rounds that he seemed like he was in the ballpark for speed with Jet. So that was pretty cool, mate. What was your take on Sexton?
Just interview him. You could tell he was stoked to be there. Like he was happy to talk to everybody, and I didn't expect a whole lot. I mean, he's coming in ice cold. He's been riding, but riding at Alden's and racing is two different things, right? And so I expected like a top five out of him. I don't even know where he finished, but what was his overall?
I think he got like fifth by the end of it. Let me just double check. Yeah, fifth overall, 5-4 in the end.
And that's spot on where I thought he'd be. I thought he'd be a top five guy, but yeah, when Jet went by him, he didn't take too well to that, and he started hauling ass again. So that's good. There's some fire in the belly, but I like that he was just like, dude, I don't care what the fans think. I don't care what anybody thinks. It burned out, and I took a break, and I kind of figured that's what it was. And if you remember Charlotte SMX last year during the preview show that we did, the live show with all the media there, somebody asked him, and they all the riders, Jet, Chase, and Eli all kind of lit up the series about how they thought
Mm.
there was too much racing going on. And, that kind of everybody was like, oh shit, didn't expect that, right? But, they're just giving their honest opinion. And um, so to me, if you pay attention, I've just always kind of been waiting, like, when's the other shoe going to drop? When are they going to dip out? When are they just going to have one of those days that they're just like, screw this, I'm done. And when Chase did that face plant at Paula, he just got up and just out of hell with it. I'm out, dude. That and so it didn't surprise me, but that I always had that sticking in the back of the head was the reaction that he had at Charlotte last year during the SMX. How he felt that there was too much racing, and everybody's analyzed it to the nth degree. He's been there nonstop the whole time, more than anybody, and just said to hell with it. I'm done. I'm just going to take a break. And who knows? Was it? Hey, he had to come back at RedBud to get paid? Probably. Okay, well, I've taken enough of a break, but if you crash right in you lose all your points at the opening round, you're not going to get the championship. What's the hell's the point of beating the shit out of yourself when you're pissed off, tired, and you probably had a bad attitude about everybody. You probably could have walked by and, hey Chase, how you doing? Fuck you. He was probably in that state of mind. So I don't blame him, dude. Hey, glad you rested up. Let's go. So I think that's about how that worked out.
Yeah, it'd be good to see how he goes moving forward because that Milville should be a good one for him, and that track's epic too. Looking forward to seeing how that pans out, mate. You'll be in for a treat there. And obviously, we haven't spoken about Prado for a couple of weeks, but fifth in the second moto. Yeah, he was getting egg led, obviously, laps for half the race. So that was pretty impressive. But then he dropped back, obviously. Looks like the bike's still hindering him, even though he wants to push. Obviously, it was pretty hot for him as well, too. But yeah, the negative comments weren't so sort of forward this weekend. He gave a lot of gratitude to the team, which is pretty cool. But I guess it was a step forward, wasn't it, mate? How did you see it all?
Well, if you go over and listen to the Main Event Moto podcast from the drop today, me and DB and TMD talked about that, and Blair shed some good insight on that. And there's a certain Aussie over there at Club these days who
Mm.
doesn't sugarcoat a damn thing, and tells it how it is and what's good and what's bad. And he's working with old Prado, and it's paying off. And I don't give a shit who you are. Hell, I could go hang out, ride with Chad Reed for a couple months, and I'd feel like I was ready to go race Supercross. Just you go around a guy like that and put in the effort, and he puts the effort into you. You are going to get better. So, and as far as the bike, Yeah, I don't know. That bike looked pretty goddamn fast on that start. Whatever it was, I think they gave him what he was asking for. I just don't think he's physically there yet, and everybody's like, oh, hey, it's not like he came into the season healthy. He didn't come into outdoors healthy. He just came off a pretty big surgery, dude. It was only a couple of months ago. So, yeah, he doesn't have the base that he had going into Supercross. And he had some issues with the bike, didn't get the testing in. I mean, this this world has got so goddamn impatient the last 10 years. If you're not spot on right then and there, you're just a piece of shit. And it's like, dude, chill, chill. Just let him sort things out. So I think that's just a lot of what it is.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. You can see obviously the Chad Reed influence is a great one to have for him. There's a lot of voices in his corner, I'm sure, and they're all trying to help. But yeah, having Chad definitely brings that extra impetus, mate. Obviously made the switch from what he's done Australia to MXGP to America years ago. So must be hard for Prado though with those high standards, mate. And this really isn't his idea of success, even if the progress is promising. Do you see that must be hard for him to recalibrate his, I guess, expectations and ambitions as well, mate? If he gets on that top step, you'll be doing that Wagyu burger, won't you?
Yeah, I'll have to put my money where my mouth is and get out the trigger and go hook him up. But I don't know if Chad will approve that. What are you doing, you dumbass? But hey, Chad, a guy like Chad Reed's probably one of the only guys who could tell Prado and really tell him and have Prado go, shit, you've been there, done that. You took the same route I did. You did the GPs. You're over here and you're in the Hall of Fame and a worldwide legend. And I think a lot of it too. Does anybody really think about? Could you imagine moving to a foreign country and then traveling around and trying to be the best in the world at what you do in a foreign land? There's a big problem there. You don't have all your friends. He does have his family here, which is good for him, but still in a foreign land, right? And just everything's weird. Everything, every day that dude leaves the track and goes to do something, and there's just probably a little bit of struggle bus and the traffic and food and just the pace of life in America compared to where he's from. I mean, it just all stacks up, and I don't give a shit how good you are. You have to be able to compress all that in and absorb it and do something with it. So it just takes time, dude. People need to just not be internet badasses and talk all kinds of shit. Just let him do his thing, dude. Just like with Chase needed a break. Let him do his thing, dude. We're lucky those guys go out and do what they do.
Yeah, mate, awesome stuff. Well said. Got to talk to you about the Kaii Jucati US debut. Really impressive effort by him. Obviously, ninth in the first moto, then a bike failure when he was running up front there in the second. But prove what a class act he is on a pretty stock bike. Good start, strong racecraft. He was happy to be there. Not bad for a 39-year-old in that stacked 450 class, was it, mate?
No, dude, that boy was impressive. Pretty much a stock bike, not far off of stock. I'd imagine that suspension was pretty good though. Ziggy's. I mean, I talked to Ziggy today, not today, but on Saturday, and I was, how's it feeling? He goes, man, it's kind of weird, not being with Honda. And I go, well, at least your shirt's red. He kind of just laughed. Imagine if your shirt was green or blue. That'd have really thrown him off. But he's got one of the best suspension guys in the world who set the bike up for him on Saturday. So the suspension wasn't a problem. He hopped Laraco's leap like it was nothing. The bike wasn't all over the place. So it was weird how did you see that video of him blowing in the gas cap trying to get that vent free on the cap? I read something like if that vent locks up and the fuel gets hot, it'll actually overpressure the tank and overpressure the injector and screw up, cause the motor. So I don't know if it was an electrical problem or that, but you don't got to be the head cashier at Walmart to probably figure out that the overpressure in the tank was the problem if Kaii was blown in the vent. And how did he know that? It's probably been something that's happened at the test track. And hey, if it, oh shit, blown that, maybe it'll free it up. So I don't know. It's just, hey, it's a brand new bike. They got to go figure it out.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that process goes. Then obviously moving into Supercross, really cool to have them out there. So 250 class, mate, Shimoda, we've already touched on the 1-1 day. First pro motocross victory on a Honda, so definite day to remember for him. The fans were going wild for him. And obviously Kitchen was, he's been back in the groove with the riding. Crashes cost him a chance at that overall win. And then obviously Mosman, awesome. It's been coming that podium for a few weeks now. Got it there, mate. Probably should have had it at Southwick, but yeah, crazy. He's been a pro for nearly 10 years, I think I was hearing, which is quite wild. And then Swole back on the podium, third race back from that Achilles injury. Awesome to see. And he had a few comments for the haters on the podium that said it was a waste of money signing him, mate. So that was awesome to see him have some success and silence them. So your pick of that bunch?
Oh, I think Swole's just a cool kid, dude. I was stoked for him. Stoked for Triumph. Forkner's. I think in just get through it mode. Outdoors was never his strong suit. I think this is just build a base, get laps in, get the body up. Unfortunately, you don't have Styles Robertson out there. That's just sad what's happening with him. And then you've got Jalik, and Jalik came back. He's been hurt a ton in his career, but to get back and get on the podium that quick, he probably could have come back sooner, but not done as well. And so for him to come back off that big of an injury and do this well, thought it was pretty sick, dude. And I got that video of him and his girl back behind the podium, and she was genuinely stoked for him and taking care of him. And I thought that was kind of a cool candid moment. So it sounds like he's got a good woman by his side and a good team and a good headspace, and it showed in the results, right? If you're happy at home, you're probably going to perform well at work, right? So I wouldn't be surprised to see more of him this summer. And Jordan Smith, God bless him. I think when RJ left the 250 class, he handed him his crown and said, "Jordan, here, this fits your head." What the hell was that off that jump, dude? Yeah, I guess if he said it in the weed show, I think it was, that if he would have let off the gas, it would have just whipped him back hard to the other side. But he almost killed his guy. He almost killed the club guy. He killed the monster display and clotheslined all those cables and shit. It's like, God damn, how many incident can have one guy having a career and get away with it? And I told DB, I said, dude, that dude's the Wile E. Coyote of motocross, dude. He needs to have acme on his butt patch, dude. Just, uh, he's just, he's got to have 99 lives, dude. He uses 9 lives up a long time ago, but that was not in my bingo card to see those two coming back around that first lap, because I stayed up right by the start. Because the one cool thing about those two long lanes was, man, when they would come around that corner, that first turn, and you're just locked in slow mo, and they just come ripping into that corner and then just come barreling down that straight. It was, it's just a flat straight bullshit. That thing was rough and rutted as hell, dude. It was, and they're going mock Jesus through there, so it was some pretty good video. And to see those two come out with Shimoda in third, I was like, whoa, dude, where the hell did that come from? So that was really, really cool. And then Moseman, yeah, he got up there and he was all fired up and he was down with the crowd. Somebody gave him this blue foam cowboy hat thing. I don't know what the hell it was, but he was wearing that around up there, just having a good old time. He's pretty reserved, real religious guy, real reserved. So it was kind of cool to see him letting loose with the wild maniacs on the other side of the fence. I've been at a lot of damn races now, and I've never heard him going over the announcers, the PA system all day, going, "You cannot climb on the fences. Get off the fences, or you will have to leave." It's like the mental ward went nuts, dude. It's like they had it's like they had a motocross race at the Looney Bin, dude.
No, they were going wild, weren't they, mate? So good for him. Wanted to get your take on Parker Ross too. Continues to impress, mate. I think eighth overall he got. He's probably putting himself in line for a factory ride or a Club MX style ride. Fitness is elite. Handles the heat so well. The riding's been superb, mate. That Bar X Yamaha would be stoked with him. So how's it going for him, mate? He's certainly on rails.
Yeah, little shit. He's killing it, dude. And a little punk ass. I love that kid, dude. He was messing with me when he walked in on Saturday, and he always like tried getting Billy Badass with me, dude. He did something, and I don't know. I don't know if he was messing with me, like trying to act like he was gonna punch me, and I just grabbed his hand, and I stopped him dead in his tracks. Like I just locked up his whole body. I didn't even move. I just locked him, and he couldn't move. And he's like, "Oh shit!" Even his girlfriend was like laughing, going, "Ah!" I was like, "Yeah, don't mess with the old man strength, boy." But I love that kid, and he put in the work, and I think one day he will be on a factory team. And you gotta give it to Bar X, man. Since they got on that Yamaha, they have really stepped up their game, dude. They've got some really good sponsorship with Toyota Redlands, so they got some money that team's gelling. I mean, they've got some great things going on. There's a damn shame about Dylan Schwartz. He had a rock get locked up. The chain got bound up on a rock against the case saver. Didn't damage anything. They just couldn't get they couldn't get the rock to come out.
Mm.
So the Cole Timbo's dad was over there trying to help him get the rock out. Cole Timbo's dad's part of the team on the race weekends, and they tried like hell to get it, but man, there was just a drag mark where they dragged that bike all the way off the track, dude. I felt it for Dylan because he got a good start, dude. He was top five, I think, in that first moto. He was riding really well. So, but yeah, I mean, if he gets a factory ride, cool. If he stays at Bar X, cool. If he ends up at Club, cool. But his stock is definitely going up at a rapid rate. I mean, look at where he started out at Anaheim 1. He didn't qualify, right? And now look at him. And remember in that video I put where he's looking back over his shoulder at who was that kid? He broke his back. God, what the hell's his name? From the Inland Empire on the KTM. Anyway, he was sitting behind him, celebrating with his mechanic making the LCQ, and Parker didn't get it, and he's just sitting there, and you could tell he's just killing him, and he puts his head down on the bars, and I said, "Let that burn in, kid," and shit like that did, that burned in on him, and boy, he didn't let that happen no more, and I can't wait to see what he does in Supercross next year because I think he's probably a better Supercross rider.
Yeah, he's an awesome Supercross racer in Australia. A couple years ago, saw him race at Newcastle, and he obviously won the SX3 championship there for Yuriv Konski's Honda team there, and he gave my wife a hat. So always good to follow the progress of the young lad because he's a top bloke and yeah, super talented, mate. He sort of was definitely a cut above those Aussie youngsters then, mate. So yeah, looking for big things for him in the future. And any other final thoughts on that 250 class or 450s at RedBud, mate?
No, man, it was a hell of a weekend. It was wild. I can't wait for Milville. I've never been there before, but I just want to go sit down there where the whoop monster used to hide and just film those rollers. Listen to Ethan to go run up and down the hills. I'm just gonna film the sand rollers all day, dude. That's more my style. And if I get too overheated, I can set my camera down and go flop my fat ass in that creek, and then come back out and film some more sand. That's the almost 50-year-old Jeff's idea of a good time at the track. Let Junior run up and down the hills like a crackhead, and all. I do want to go film the Chatapult. Hopefully nobody ends up doing what Chad did, but I can go film some of that. That'll be pretty badass. But yeah, I'm definitely pumped to go to Millville.
Yeah, it should be an epic one, mate. How's the weather looking for that? And what's the week ahead with the Whiskey Throttle content, mate? Obviously, you've crushed it on the weekend, so I expect plenty more of that podcast, video, all everything, mate.
Yeah, we had Scott Frazier up at Big Hill Jam, so there's a bunch of content coming in for that Ethan's going to be posting. So we got a bunch of Big Hill Jam stuff coming out this week. Of course, I'll be putting edits out through the week from the combine. I've got some good Justin Turner stuff. I've got some good stuff of Gibson before he over revved his bike to oblivion, and then some little Landon Gordon stuff. Apparently, Gordon's going to Star. Um, he's heading over there, so one of his last rides on a Kaii would be pretty cool to put a video out. And I'm down in Louisiana working down outside of Baton Rouge this week, and if I can change my flight without it costing me an arm and a leg, I'm gonna head up Thursday night to Minnesota so I can do press day at Millville just so I get the lay of the land for the day. And if not, I'll head up Friday like I'm normally scheduled for, and I go for the gold.
Should
And
be
I have no
awesome.
idea what Ping's doing. Ping's over there raising all kinds of hell.
No worries, mate. Sounds awesome. Should be an epic week. And thanks again for joining us on this podcast, mate. Been great to hear all things from on the ground at RedBud. And obviously, big thanks to the fans for listening and supporting the website and these podcasts. And huge shout out to the sponsors in Fly Racing, Firepower, Dirt Store, and Fuchs Silkalim for all their incredible support. As without them, none would be possible. All right. Thanks again, Jeff, mate. Been awesome to catch up again, and we'll speak again next week.
Yeah, buddy.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.